This event was intended to provide an opportunity for Boone County residents to talk to their federal representatives and senators about the things that are bothering them about what the federal government is doing and the chaos in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, despite multiple attempts to invite them, all of our U.S. representatives and senators, that's Representative Alfred and Onder and Senators Hawley and Schmitt, all failed to show. So we are going to have a town hall without them. We do have some state, but not all of our representatives are cowards, because we do have some state and local officials here. So I just want to, if you are a state official, stand up and wave. If you are a locally elected official, stand up and wave. And that would also be me. All right, as we get started, I want to quickly set out the process for the evening. I will be calling up people one by one based on my list, some of them pre-registered. I'll be intermixing the people who wanted to speak in the mix also. If we can't get to all the speakers, we do have some QR codes around the room so that you can make your voice heard, and we will make sure that our elected representatives hear what you have to say. We also have voting stickers in the back to show which parts of Project 2025 and the federal chaos is impacting you, and those at the back of the room. So we have many people who want to speak. We'll be timing people. Most people are getting 3 minutes. They will be flagged at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and the end, and the timer is right over here if you're speaking. I ask all our speakers keep to time because, as you can see, we have a lot of people here and a lot of people who are very frustrated with our federal government. And to that end, I'm going to start with the first speaker, and I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him, but I saw him in the audience, and I have James Gordon as the first speaker, and I have that he is I'm not sure what he's speaking about, so come on up.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're good.
Thank you all. Thank you, Paul. My name is James Gordon, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Worley Street Roundtable. I am a white man, and he's 44 years old. I've got short brown hair, and today I'm wearing a bluish plaid shirt, long sleeve, and blue slacks. For those of you that don't know, the Worley Street Roundtable has been part of the community in Columbia for decades. We are and have always been an organization that's led by black women, especially black women educators. And this organization started with parents of people who were in our Columbia public schools who began to understand that things were going on in our schools that need to be addressed. And the way that we would do that is we would get together and have our community dinners and talk about these issues, the actual issues that are going on in our schools, not the sort of manufactured scaremongering issues that we hear about sometimes on social media. Don't spend too much time on Facebook, people. And that's something that's a tradition that we still carry on to this day. We meet every third Sunday of the month during the school calendar year. Currently, we are meeting at Peace and Hope Youth Center over on Ash Street, and everyone in the community is invited to come. And we'd love to have you. In addition to our community forums, we also have several programs, including Teachers of Hope and Promise, where we recognize teachers who are selected by the students to be recognized for their contributions. And maybe that's one thing to sort of highlight right now is that we understand all the things that are happening at the federal level and the sort of pressure that puts on our school systems, starting with our educators and also the families of our students. One thing that we know is that the society that we will have in 10 years is the one that starts with the schools that we have today. And when we have problems outside of the classroom, those have a way of coming into the classroom and creating disruptions in learning. But the thing that we believe, and I guess I want to say that our representatives do not believe, because they didn't even bother to show up here, is that everyone in our community is worth it. And we want every kid in our community to have access to high quality education and to have access to all the resources they need to thrive. And so thank you all for being here, and I see that my time's up. If you want to come talk to me more about Rowley Street Roundtable and things going on in Columbia Public Schools, I'd love to chat. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, James. Next, we're going to have Dan Vietz, who's going to be talking about some international stories. Come on up. And after that, Howard, you're up next.
Thank you. Thank you for that warning. Well, it's an honor. It's an honor. I am impressed with the turnout here tonight. This is amazing. And I think it reflects... I think it reflects the intensity of the feeling that we all have, the dissatisfaction we all have with the people that are supposed to be representing us. Mark Alfred and Bob Onder do not represent us in the United States Congress. You know, the timing today is very good, because it was exactly 4 months ago today that Donald J. Trump took the oath of office. He swore that he would protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. As soon as he took that oath, he broke it. And he has broken it every single day since January 20. And how many ways has he broken it? Well, we don't have time. I don't have time to go into all of them by any means, but I can tell you that one of them that I find especially offensive is the treatment of international students. Marco Rubio, our erstwhile Secretary of State, head of USAID, head of the National Intelligence, and who knows what else by now. Marco Rubio, I find this curious and somehow ironic, actually was a Missourian for one academic year. He attended Tarkio College, up where I grew up in the northwesternmost corner of the state of Missouri in Atchison County. Little town of Tarkio. Bruin Shipley wrote about Tarkio Road because they went to school up there. But Marco Rubio went to Tarkio on a football scholarship. The guy that Trump called Little Marco actually had a football scholarship to attend Tarkio College. And I'm not sure if we should be ashamed of that or proud of that, probably the former. But Rubio has been the point man on Trump's effort to deport students who dare to express disagreement with him. Now, there's no question that the First Amendment applies to everyone in this country, and there's no question that There's no question that international students have exactly the same First Amendment rights that we all enjoy, that we all have as part of our most precious heritage as Americans. And yet, Rubio and Trump have blatantly used their political expression as a reason to revoke the visas of probably, we don't know exactly, but probably 2,000 students, possibly more than that by now, purely and simply because they express political views that the Trump administration does not find to be attractive, appropriate, supportive. You know, Trump values loyalty over everything else. And so students who are disloyal to the president, of course, are being targeted for deportation. We have to count on our courts to uphold the rights that we all hope we enjoy, and in many cases the courts are doing their jobs, but they don't have an army, they don't have a law enforcement agency, they don't have the ability to do anything other than issue orders, and it depends on the historic respect that we count on our elected representatives to have for our Constitution, for our courts. And I'm very worried that we can't count on this current administration to respect that tradition, to carry on that tradition. But thank goodness, It won't last forever. And next year, just next year, we have the opportunity to take back the United States Congress, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. And Becky, if you don't mind doing your first story after Howard, I'd appreciate it. Come on, Howard.
I am so mad. Oh my God, there's so many things to say here. Okay, is this the anti-Doge meeting too? Okay. Look, there's a ton of stuff that's happening to the post office since the first Trump administration. But one of the things I do is accept passport applications. And since the very first day, our trans community has been just virtually shut out. They did everything wrong. They didn't go through stakeholder meetings. They didn't check on putting out new forms and policy to see how it would go over. They did everything backwards. They kept people's documents. They put the wrong gender markers on people's documents. It just went on and on and on. And it becomes impossible. There are celebrity trans people getting shut out at the airport because TSA doesn't know what the hell the actual policy is. It's a chaos out there. Just so everybody knows, we have an injunction on passports, the policy that they tried to implement, but it's only for 6 plaintiffs. The ACLU has currently asked for that to be expanded. We expect for it to be expanded shortly, and then I have the ability to get the right applications for people at that time. The other thing that's happened in the last week is that we do more passport applications here, acceptance in Columbia, Missouri, than any place in the state. And we have started to do appointments, but we still squeeze in we squeeze in a ton of people that don't have appointments every day. The thing that has happened that is really, I get to watch people come to the passport window and cry about being undocumented and getting their kids documented. The Hispanic names on my passport appointment list have disappeared in the last week. Whether it's people don't want to be, I assume it's people don't want to be tracked. And so they're not coming to get their kids' passports. And so they are going undocumented. So the thing that we have created is creating what we feared, or so just so we can call everybody illegal. So that's the biggest thing, the biggest 2 groups that have been just immediately messed up in this situation. About the post office in general, we are at the center of $1.92 trillion worth of mailing industry. We have a yearly debt now because of, hugely because our prices are too low, and not to meet the mission, constitutional mission, but too low if you were a private company like UPS or FedEx, whose parcels we deliver more of every day than they do. This saves them billions of dollars more than our yearly debt. And this goes on, we help our general customers who now have cottage industries from mailing from home. And because of the tariffs, advertisers don't know what the prices of their stuff is going to be, so that has taken a huge hit. So our every door direct mail, one of our services, has virtually disappeared since advertisers don't know how to advertise their products in the next month or 2. Did he say he's going to stop? Bye.
All right, Scott Christensen will be next after Becky, but there are some people who don't have the privilege of speaking out and can't be here tonight, and we have help from Becky to help us to help speak for some of those people. So Becky's going to be sharing a couple stories.
All right, so I've got 2 stories up here that I'm going to share with you. These are both anonymous submissions. And there's kind of some questions that they answered, so I'm going to go through them and just read them to you all. So what type of impact are they experiencing? This was due to loss of funding or grants based on cuts from Musk, Doge, and impacted HHS. It says as a part of the reorganization of HHS, the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, or SHIP with a P, a nationwide program that helps Medicare beneficiaries understand their benefits, is being eliminated. In Missouri, SHIP is operated by Missouri Connections for Health, based in Columbia, Missouri. This is around how they were negatively affected. It says, after 3 decades, my 27 employees, most of them in Boone County, will likely lose their jobs, and 200 volunteer and partner organizations will no longer be helping folks with Medicare. 1.2 million Missourians will have no free, unbiased help with Medicare and will be subject to profit-driven sales folks trying to get them to buy a plan, not necessarily the one that's the best fit for the client. This makes vulnerable Missourians subject to exploitation and without legal help to assist them with Medicare at a time when this population is growing by 11,000 people a day nationally. And that was from someone in here in Boone County. And then the second one that I have is also around loss of funding or grants. This person has already lost their employment, and it says funding cuts, 50% for one project, 25% for the second, and 100% for another. This is a person, as well as their partner, who are experiencing loss of employment and difficulty finding new employment based on these cuts. Each of these projects that they were working on directly contributes to the amount of agricultural product available in the United States. As these are cut, we will no longer see an increase in American agricultural production as we have since the country was established, but a stark decrease as the change in agricultural zones that is ongoing. It makes it difficult for American farmers to find crops which can be productive. Thank you.
And is Reverend James Patterson here? Okay, you're next.
All right, my name is Scott, and in my professional life, I study AI, and you may have heard a lot about the dangers of AI, but AI has already been affecting our society, has already been affecting our politics. That is what drives social media and has driven us so far apart that these guys can't even imagine a world in which they would talk to somebody that they disagree with. And AI is coming even farther because, frankly, it makes those in power a lot of money. There was a reason you saw Jeff Bezos, there's a reason you saw Elon Musk on the inauguration stand with Trump. In the House of Representatives this past week, there was a bill introduced to give these AI companies a break and not have any regulation, even at the state level, for the next 10 years. Because they're kind of small. They're kind of small businesses. They only make 10 to 20 billion a quarter. I mean, come on. On the other side, we have the Senate that's unwilling to stand up to President Trump on these tariffs. Now, one of the things that is most devastating to small and medium-sized businesses is uncertainty. And there's no way a business can grow and plan in today's economy where you don't know if the tariffs that are going to be here today are going to be gone next Tuesday or something else even worse is going to come along. It's obvious that Trump hasn't even taken a basic economics course where he doesn't understand the difference between trade deficits and tariffs. We have to do better. And we have to call on our representatives to answer for what they've allowed to have happen in Congress. It's intolerable. Thank you.
Okay, Reverend Patterson, and next will be Megan C. to talk about federal employees after Reverend Patterson.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and I just wanted to share some things. How many of you know that it takes teamwork to make the dream work? That it's going to take a collaborative effort of a multitude of groups to come together in order for all of us to get accomplished what we need to get accomplished. I'm speaking for several different organizations. If you know me, you know I'm involved. And the thing about being involved is that your passion rises. You want to do more. You want to see some of these things happen that should be happening, that we have to have some oomph to get things to get to where we want them to be. We've allowed so much to happen, and yet we have so much strength as a collective. When we have several different groups, the SCLC, I'm a member of the executive board with them, the NAACP vice president with them, Race Onward, been a member with them, and I've been on several pilgrimages. Braver Angels, we learn how to talk to one another in a way that's passionate and yet respectful. In other words, we are able to tell people what is on our minds and in our hearts in a way that's palatable for everybody. And his prayer is that we bring out the passion in you. If you love what you do, and I tell people all the time, I do what I do for love of this community. And I'm proud to be a Colombian. So if I get a little excited or if I seem like I'm that way anyhow. But the truth of the matter is, I do have a passion to serve. I'm a minister here. There are people, my investment is in serving those people. And I'd like to think of myself as being a practicing servant. So don't be surprised if you see me anywhere and you hear me talking about more extensively about the things that we have going on. But I just wanted to share that we're not being silent. You have some tremendous minds that are collaborating in order to get what is necessary for us to be active in the community and to make this movement visible. Thank you very much.
Alice, will you be ready next?
There's someone who's taking my place.
Okay.
Jensen, where are you?
Okay,
Where's your speaker?
come on up.
And I'll be later, I'll take his place. Is it-
Good evening. My name is Megan. I'm a Boone County resident, PTA mom, a small business owner here in town. I have a lot of reasons to be standing up here and speaking out today, and I apologize if I get a little emotional, but this has been really hard. As a woman, as a taxpayer, as an outdoor enthusiast, and as a staunch advocate and ally and friend to folks in the LGBTQ community, I'm here. But today I am going to focus on my role as wife of a federal employee and as the daughter of a federal employee, because that's the most pressing crisis in my life right now. I was raised in Idaho by two public employees, a public school teacher and then also a forester who worked for the Forest Service. His job was to go out into the woods with the logging companies and ensure that when they harvested timber that they left enough for future generations. And so he proudly did that day in and day out, taught me to value nature and taught me all about different trees. And it provided a great foundation for our life. Like we were steadily middle class. He worked hard. We had insurance. He's retired now and he's doing very well. I don't have to worry about him. He's been cared for. So when my husband, who's also in natural resources, was offered an opportunity to leave academia and come to Columbia to take a job at a federal agency here, we jumped at the opportunity this would provide for our family, it provide the stability, all of those things, right? And you see where I'm going with this. So we moved here, brought our two kids here, started up. I run a small business, as I mentioned earlier, so his income is our insurance, our healthcare, all of those things, our retirement, so that I can do my thing and chase kids around in the meantime. So that was all going pretty well up until, well, fall. Anyway, Project 2025 became on our radar, and we saw that his entire mission area was just going to be cut. So at that point, we had some really tough conversations with our kids and with our family and looking at the very real reality that this was not just his job he was going to be losing, but his entire career as a scientist and a natural resources person. as those jobs, those that are in charge of managing these public resources, they went to school for this, and those jobs are all coming to an end now. People say, go into the private sector. Well, guess what? There is no private sector for folks like my husband and his colleagues that are being cut. So very scary. There's not a lot of great options for our family. My kids are being impacted by this. I'm being impacted by this. And I just want to read a quote to you. If you haven't had the chance to read this or to see this, Russell Voigt, in a video clip, talks about, we want bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them not to want to go to work because they're increasingly viewed as villains. We want their funding shut down. We want to put them in trauma. As a person who's dedicated my career to helping people heal from the effect of trauma, I cannot imagine a type of person who would want to inflict this on any other human being, let alone their families and their children. And it's happening to my kids just as much as it's happening to my husband and I. Just as a small glimpse of that, my kid came home, thought his dad was fired. We walked through the door, his dad was home early that day, and he was just panicked at 14, did dad get fired today? My daughter is registering the stress, and she's having nightmares and panic attacks. My husband and I aren't sleeping. Nightmares, I keep dreaming I'm gonna drive off a cliff in these really elaborate, horrible nightmares. So the stress is real, and it's having a very significant impact. Have a really hard time reconciling the type of people who would intentionally cause this level of harm to people. I just don't understand. So thank you for listening.
Next up after Alice will be Dean Anderson. I'd just also like to point out that Dustin, can you raise your hand? Dustin is working for, which hat is this again?
I'm working with Progress Missouri to collect stories of Missouris that are being impacted by the Trump administration, how they or services they relate to are being impacted, so that we can elevate their voices and potentially help connect it with proper journalism.
So if you don't get a chance to speak tonight, certainly Dustin is a resource that you can talk to tonight, and he'll be around. So Alice, and then Dean will be after Alice.
Okay. One of the things that keeps me up at night is the cuts to USAID. The 45 million children who aren't getting vaccinated this year from deadly diseases in their poor communities. The food that's rotting in warehouses that could feed them because of those cuts. I've got some statements from Mary Hobbs, who worked 20 years from USAID and recently retired. She's the stepdaughter of Vicki Hobbs. She states, listen to this, Mr. Alfred, Mr. Onder, that US taxpayers invested less than a penny per dollar per year to fund this foreign assistance. An agency, the very first agency to feel the Dodge cuts. We brought Sesame Street, these are some of her projects, to Bangladesh to educate millions of impoverished children. We brought radio-based education to war-torn South Sudan after their civil war. We brought polio vaccines to children in South Sudan to save them from this disease. We paved roads in South Sudan. She was involved in all of these projects. We kept the lights on and electricity in Kosovo after their war. We helped to address extreme malnutrition in Tanzania. We supported the ability of regional agricultural research centers in West Africa. We helped women farmers in remote areas of Pakistan to learn how to earn a living. We reduced elephant poaching, this really touched me, in Mozambique from 100 per year to 0 in 3 years. We could go on and on. It's a small sample of the activities that she participated in. So she suggests you multiply this by 500 to begin to understand the positive impact of USAID, which has been totally cut. One of her Republican, one last one, very important, the HIV program, which is now totally cut, saved 26 million lives by making antivirals available across Africa and keeping children alive. As a wise Republican colleague of mine once said, foreign assistance is a lot cheaper than wars. Thank you.
Up after Dean is Chris L.
What a crowd. I feel very honored and privileged to be here tonight. My name is Dean Anderson. And I first want to say thank you to everybody who's been going to rallies, because they have done so much to lift my spirit, and I think the spirit of lots of other people who have been going. A lot of us feel very anxious, threatened, and fearful right now. I'm one of those people. I sometimes have problems sleeping. And I have this little book with me right here, and this is a book that I've had since the late 80s. And in this little book, I had a register of all my friends that were dying of AIDS back then, and their ages. And it was a really traumatic time to see my friends just disappearing one after another. And now I realize that there's going to be families all around the globe that are going to be dealing with the same kind of issues, because we've cut funding for people with AIDS around the country, in other countries, and possibly even here in the United States. And I think it's time to get outraged. Back then, a group came together called ACT UP. And I want to say thank you, everybody, for been putting these rallies together. But I also think that ACT UP could serve as a model for what we could do to maybe even be more effective with our rallies. We don't want to use violence, but we do need to make our voices present. Trump is great at this. He says, oh, the immigrants are eating your dogs. I'm going to take over Canada or whatever, and sucks all the oxygen out of the room. We have to do the same sort of thing. I think we should be doing things like having our rallies on interstate passes with big signs hanging off the passes, Trump is a traitor, support our Constitution, things like that. We're calling out groups that are enablers. The Missouri Hospital Association, they voted in favor of our current governor, who is running on election denial. This is an organization that should be standing behind evidence-based information instead of election deniers, yet they came out supporting our current governor, who is an election denier, when they had a perfectly good alternative with Crystal Quaid, who actually was far better on women's health issues than our current governor. We should be protesting in front of the Missouri Hospital Association. We should be protesting more at the Capitol. We have a lot of work to do, and we need to take our anger and we need to force it, to channel it into change. I think we could be doing things like die-ins at the Capitol, with blood on our hands, to show that we're upset about the people whose health is being endangered when we cut Medicaid or when we cut things like USAID. And then there's also the Board of Curators. And I wanted to, I don't know how much time I have, 30 seconds. Okay, the Board of Curators, there was a sign on campus, I won't look it up. There was a sign on campus that had something like, regardless of your nationality, your race, your country of origin, your religion, your sexuality, your gender, whether you've served in the military or not, you're welcome here. That's simple. And they had to take those signs down all across campus. They razor blazed them off the walls and when no one was looking. And one of the pillars at the MU is diversity. And yet here we are scraping down little signs around the campus that just welcome people here who are different. We should be embarrassed and ashamed. It's going against what our pillars stand for, and we should be also protesting at Board of Curator meetings and on campus as well.
And after Chris L., Vera.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Banks, and I'm here for Chris Lehman, who is one of our partners at Inclusion Plus. If you have not heard about Inclusion Plus, we are a pop-up LGBTQIA+ educational and entertainment company. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary on last Wednesday, actually. Oh, thanks. And maybe a little bit more applause worthy, we've done over 775 events for our LGBTQI+ community in those 5 years. That ranges from, there you go, thanks. It ranges from drag shows to educational workshops to speaker panels to Pride Fest, from Kansas City to St. Louis, Kirksville to the Lake of the Ozarks to Warrensburg, Columbia, Washington, Missouri, Moberly. We do drag anywhere and everywhere that our community exists, and they could exist everywhere, don't they, folks? So We show up and we didn't recognize it or realize it when we started this with a video camera doing drag shows at our ACA Business Club, but we found ourselves now fighting politically because we got called into session emergency by Caleb Rowden to say that drag is heinous, it's illegal, it's sexual. We totally do not believe that. We have many, many cases where we do family-friendly content for everybody, and we can show that over and over again. So what we would like to say to our representatives and our senators essentially is drag is not a crime. And now we just saw this last week or so that it is now considered a First Amendment protected right. And that, I think, is worth celebrating right there. So we would also like to remind our representatives and our senators that trans rights are civil rights and trans health care is non-negotiable. We also want to tell them, you don't understand the difference between gender and sexuality, so stop trying to institute legislation regulating it. You don't understand it. LGBTQIA2S people have always existed, and legislation cannot erase us. So again, stop trying. Stop creating barriers for inclusivity, and fund DEI initiatives and programs, will you? We'd appreciate it. We've extended this invitation to many a representative and many a senator, and we extend it to all of you and anybody across any aisle. Come to an event with us. See what it's really like. We'll show you every side, every angle. We'll talk to you. We'll answer questions. Become a member of our organization and show up. This is to all of you. Show up to the House, show up to the Senate, testify against these bills. Show them this great, amazing number of people that we have here defending our rights. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you from all of us at Inclusion Plus for being here tonight, because the movement that we need to make, it starts here in this room and it continues on after tonight, doesn't it, folks?
All right, after Vera is Devin.
Hi, my name is Vera Elwood, and I am running for City Council in Ward 2 here in Columbia. I have been a foster parent for 3 years. As of May 2nd, I am now an adoptive parent. I am queer, I am disabled, I am chronically ill. Every single one of these cuts affects me, affects my family, affects my loved ones. But tonight, I would like to talk to the representatives that are not here about the career field that I have spent a decade in, libraries. I started my library career as the young adult librarian in a small rural town in western Kansas. The kind of town that is most deeply affected by the cuts that we are currently seeing at the federal level. In our library, I watched our community thrive. I saw foster children have supervised visits with their biological siblings because there was nowhere else safe for them to do it. I saw children find a safe place to play and socialize after school because there was not a single after-school care program in our town. I saw a 17-year-old apply for his first job. I saw an 18-year-old open the email saying that he would be the first in his family to go to college. It was Harvard. In 2017, our library started loaning out digital hotspots. While we certainly weren't the first to come up with this idea, it was well before hotspots became a popular item for libraries to circulate during COVID. In the first month of this program, I heard unceasingly how these hotspots changed people's lives. A high school student who was able to score higher on a test than he ever had before because he could actually access his teacher's PowerPoints at home and study. A middle school student who, for the first time since her dad was deployed, was able to video call him from the privacy of her own home instead of using the public computer lab. This wasn't an issue of being able to pay for internet service. The people who shared these stories lived in areas that were so rural, internet providers would not come to them even if they paid. And this isn't just happening in Kansas. There are people in Missouri, there are people in Boone County who cannot get internet access to their home. And yet, Trump continues to withhold federal funds from the Digital Equity Act, which previously offered high-speed internet access to rural areas, including Missouri. Daniel Boone Regional Library here in Boone County also offers hotspots just like we did for checkout to meet the needs of rural patrons. Hotspots that are paid for with funds from the Institute of Library and Museum Sciences. At DBRL, IMLS funding also helps pay for checkouts, for self-checkouts, GED programs, and services for older adults. At smaller libraries, at rural libraries, IMLS funds keep the doors open and keep the lights on. And yet, IMLS continues to be threatened and slashed by the Trump administration. Missouri libraries earned and were even given funding from IMLS to provide services through 2027. And yet, the Trump administration has, as recently as this week, attempted to suspend these payments despite a federal court injunction. Anyone who thinks books don't save lives has never struggled to see themselves represented on the page. Anyone who thinks the Librarian of Congress is handing out sex books to children does not understand how libraries work. And anyone who thinks librarians are going to take this lying down are wrong and are going to find out just how hard we can fight.
And Sekou, you're after Devin.
Good evening. How are y'all? All right. This is my first time doing something like this, so bear with me. All right. I stand up here, my name is Devin, and I stand up here tonight as someone who's directly threatened by this administration and their policies and the decisions that they're making in the federal government level. I'm a Black disabled woman. I'm someone who worked for over 20 years at MU, and I paid into the Social Security system just like I was supposed to. I now receive Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, for those who don't know, because of both physical and mental health conditions. My health insurance comes through Medicaid and Medicare, which help keep me alive. If I lose Medicare or if I lose Medicaid, it would be a death sentence for me. I simply would not be able to afford the care that I need to be able to maintain a quality of life. Even now, I struggle to access care because of how Missouri administers Medicaid. I'm considered underinsured, meaning I have to pay a $300 monthly spend down amount before I'm even covered by Missouri under Medicaid. Now, imagine having to pay $300 while only having a limited income with Social Security and having to cover food, rent, and I pay all of my rent. I am not on any other type of aid to pay my rent. I'm paying it out of my Social Security, okay? Food, rent, daily living expenses, all while prices are rising daily, okay? And too often I end up having to go without care, and I am not alone. I actually have an elderly mother that I take care of in St. Louis, Missouri. She was impacted by the tornado that happened on Friday. Her area was hit. I help take care of her from here. She makes less than $15,000 a year on Social Security, and she is also on the spend down, okay? Which means she has to pay a certain amount, which is like $108 every month before her insurance kicks in, okay? The only reason why she is able to live independently is because of programs like Section 8 and Medicare and Medicaid. She's also able to live independently as a person with eye problems. She has eye problems, and I go and take care of her every 6 weeks. She has to get eye shots. Her Medicare allows for this to happen. It allows her to have dignity as a human being and someone who worked all her life and paid into the system, just like everybody in this room here. These attacks on Medicaid and Medicare are not just political, they are very personal. They impact real people, and they have real lives that are impacted by these things. If I lose my benefits, I don't just lose access to my health care, I lose my stability as a person. I face homelessness, and so does my mom. Let's be clear, we're contributing. I pay rent, I shop locally, I support my community however I can. The same is true for many other people in my position. These are all earned benefits, and they keep us alive, and they keep us participating in society. Our representatives are elected to serve us all, not abandon us or harm us actively, especially the most vulnerable. Their presence not being here tonight, it speaks volumes to everybody. We want representatives that actually care about us as citizens. We want representatives that represent all of us, not just some of us, not the rich, not the wealthy. We want people that represent everybody, no matter if they make less than $1,000 a month or if they make $10,000 a month. Everybody matters. All Missourians definitely deserve better leadership. We all deserve to be seen. We all deserve to be heard. We all deserve to be protected. We are not invisible, and we are not going anywhere. Thank you.
I am Sekou Gaidi, and I am thankful for your time. I'm here to tell you how I fight to keep the benefits that I suffered for. I was beaten nearly to death that night. The gloom closed in, but I fought it like I fought everything else in my life. I woke up wounded, but alive, left with PTSD. I still fight the symptoms. I fought to get disability and Social Security. I fought to get and keep Medicare. I fought to keep my job at MU. I will fight on. And when I got up, I tried to get my life together. I lost my job, a partial sight in my eye, and still suffer occasional tinnitus. My head trauma could get me the help from Social Security that at that point I desperately needed. But I'd rather be whole. It was always a struggle. You need money, but are forced to wait until the government decides your fate. I persisted, and the thing that won this battle was my girlfriend. It supported me all the way, trying to ask for help from a system that systematically oppresses people who look like me. Why is Social Security so hard to get? These programs are an investment into the people that pays back. It is 5% of our gross domestic product. These programs were intended to help the less fortunate so they can contribute, so I can contribute. The numbers are great, but in my opinion, we should help people because helping people is the right thing to do. I've heard it said that Social Security and disability enables the poor to be lazy, to not do their jobs. Guys, what do you think about that? Anybody? No? Okay. But I always wanted to work. I simply needed help while I recovered. I have a part-time job at MU. I cook, I bake, I flip burgers. And I don't work to impress people who don't treat me like a human being. I work for the same reason you do. Pride, to pay bills, to be a provider. As I work, I watch the student population dwindle. Watch white people who were once friendly be unsure of what to do with me. The fear is palpable out there, guys. And we need each other now more than ever. All my life, I've been fighting for my family, fighting for my community. But the one thing I did not come to do was beg. I was born a black man, raised a black man. Everything I ever got, I earned. I came to stand for my people and to let you know we're Americans and we're better than this. We can provide health care. We can help people. We can have a great economy. But this poisonous dream of putting black people, the disabled, and the poor in our place is something that I believe is wrong if nothing else in life is. But we can do all in our power to make it better.
Hello, my name is Vicki Zimmerman. I'm a disabled retired nurse. I have a 4-year psych degree. I have a lot of time to think about things and watch people, and I have a different take on a few things, and I do profoundly believe this enough to get up in front of people. I believe that Congress is being blackmailed by Putin via Trump. And I think that there's a lot of things, if you look upon the history of the United States and the history of Russia, they've engaged in this thing called compromise, which is compromise. And they told us decades ago that they would take us down from within without firing a shot. And if you think about it, they're kind of doing it. And I do believe that these gentlemen over here, over there, I don't think we're going to hear much of anything from them, and I believe that their evasiveness and their lack of what would be appropriate, intelligent American decisions and priorities explain a lot if you look at it in the terms of these people are being blackmailed, and y'all need to say, are you being blackmailed? Are you being blackmailed? Are you being blackmailed? How about you? You being blackmailed? How come you're not helping us? I mean, I'm having a hard time here, and I've gone through a lot to have hard times about. But I am here to tell you, just like that one guy that thumped his little shoe, that little Russian guy, and said they will bury you from within without firing a shot. Well, you know, honest to goodness, don't you think that we need to kind of give it back to them? And if these guys are the key and they're wanting to keep themselves clean and pure and nice and all right, don't you think that we deserve to hear it from them again and again and again and again? And maybe a few of them, some of the less guilty people will come forward and break ranks with the pressure that we could give them. This is psychological pressure. And if we was to do this enough to them, we could break some ranks. And if we could break some ranks, we can make some real changes. I hate to say this. I've come to the conclusion that even some Democrats are involved because they just took a great big swath of anything and everything. They made stuff up, too. It's not even, half of it's not even real, because you know how they are with all this weird stuff they put on the internet now. But we have got to start looking at these people in a different way and maybe making some kind of amnesty or compromise for the people who are lesser tinged than the bunch, because we're not going to break this. I love these things and these sentiments and these protests, but these guys, they need to be held accountable, and they need to know that we know. Please. Thank you very much. It's so nice talking to you folks.
After Carrie will be Ken.
Thanks. I'm Carrie Clark. I'm a crop scientist who works internationally. And I think one thing I can say that everybody here agrees on is, how on earth did 72 million people think that all this is going to be okay, that this is okay? Where were they 8 years ago? Did they not pay attention? I don't get it. I will tell just a real quick story. I do teach students at MU, and I recently took a trip with about 25 students, and nobody, the entire trip, said anything political, even though the whole world was falling apart. And so finally, I just started in saying, how can we do this? How can we do that? How can we live with this? And they were silent, and one finally said, thank you for saying something. We don't know what to do. So these are our, I don't see many of them here. These are our 20-year-olds. They're lost. They need help. So if you have any of those in your lives, talk to them about what they can do. So I actually came to talk about USAID. which someone spoke for Mary Hobbs, who worked for USAID. I've been with the USAID project for the last 10 years. It was actually one of the first programs, that fell. The first thing they went after was USAID. When I saw Elon Musk ranting and raving on stage about all the fraud and everything at USAID, I just wanted to vomit, because they had chosen 9 programs of the tens of thousands that are in USAID and said this is all fraud and waste, and it was just programs they didn't politically agree with. So for that, they eliminated an entire organization, which is vital for supporting people across the world to eat, to get AIDS drugs, to get malaria drugs, for many things like that. So Mary summed it up really nicely, all the things that USAID did. Of course, the agency has pretty much been eliminated now. I'll tell a couple of stories. One, since we were one of the first to fall, we got a lot of publicity, and I've talked to a lot of reporters. And so I try to think about how do the MAGA people think of this, and how does this relate to them? Because why should they care about what happens to Africa or Latin America or Asia? Well, what's one of the number one things they hate is immigrants, right? So if you let countries live in poverty, are people going to want to stay there? No, they're going to want to immigrate. So you have to address the problem at its root cause, and that's what USAID was doing. And as the person speaking for Mary also said, peace is much cheaper than war, and soft power is much cheaper than war. And there are literally millions of children that are going to die because of what they've done with USAID, but we're also seeing literally millions of people in the United States losing their benefits and possibly dying here too. So, why should we care about the rest of the world? Because we're not just here on our own. Everybody is connected. So, I do, as I talk to the press, I try to think about, well, how would the right wing think about this? How can I address them? How can I make it real to them? And so that is what I try to do as I talk to press and as I talk to people. But let me give you an example of, in addition to what Mary said, that I think the destruction of USAID is going to have very long-term effects, not only in deaths immediately from hunger and malaria and AIDS, but we are no longer allowed, I don't know, hopefully many of you guys have seen that there's about 150 words we're no longer allowed to say at the USDA, and one of them, of course, is climate change, clean water, women, gender, things like this. They're not allowed to be in any sort of grant proposal, anything like that. But climate change is a big one. So I've worked extensively in Africa, and one of the things that climate change is doing in Africa is it's bringing the rains later. Of course, Africa is monsoonal, it's in the tropics, so they have rains that come only once a year for about 4 or 5 months. If you don't get your crops in there, you starve. So what's going on is that people kind of know from history how much they need to keep back as grain and how much they need to keep back as seed. If the rains come later or not as often, then what they kept as seed now has to become grain, so they have to eat it. So that means they have nothing to plant. So now Africa will get poorer and poorer and poorer. And this is the largest continent, one of the largest, I guess the second to Asia, but it's the largest growing population. What happens when an entire continent destabilizes and starving? We're going to have war. We're going to have immigration. So even Marco Rubio said USAID is vital to the interests of the United States. And so the lady who just talked, I mean, there's something going on in these people's heads. I don't know if they're compromised. I don't know what's wrong, but it does need to be addressed. And the man who talked about ACT UP, I suggest that we go, I mean, we kind of broke Tesla. Let's go break Fox News next, because that's where this started. So I'll just end with what I tell all the reporters that talk to me is that, yes, the rest of the world matters. Make America great again. Everything that made America great, we are now discarding. And we have to keep those things. And one of those was things like USAID. It's our social protections like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. If we don't keep those, we are nothing. And I believe we have lost the battle. I know we have lost the continent of Africa to China. I think we've lost the battle. So we are no longer great. We have made America as bad as it could possibly be.
I'm Ken Schneeberger. I'm a retiree. I have lots of surplus time, so I spend it writing to my congressmen and my senators and my president. This is my latest letter to Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley, I want to tell you about a group of amazing people in Ukraine who I know and care about. Over the past 15 years, the University of Missouri has hosted more than 25 Ukrainian scholars. They came here to learn about agriculture systems to apply to their country. Although they were young and ambitious, every one of them returned to Ukraine because they were on a mission to improve their country. How do I know this? I've visited in their homes. I've been very fortunate to be in Ukraine for weeks, 3 times, and I know the people. I have met the people in the universities, the families. They are a great people. They are a religious people. As you know, Ukraine has been invaded by Putin, Russia. So many of them are now displaced. Some of them forced to live outside their country because of what was going on. Nearly 7 million Ukrainians, more than Missouri's entire population, have been displaced across Europe. Many of those are women and children. The men are behind, taking care of fighting the war. This is 7 million out of 41 million people. Although I've written you over and over, as well as to President Trump, Senator Schmitt, and Representative Onders, none of you seem to care about these people. And it looks like you will allow Russia to gobble up their much smaller country. This is not how a world superpower behaves. We protect our democracy allies around the world. I challenge my elected representatives to explain why you are not vocally supporting the people of Ukraine and instead say this is Europe's problem.
All right, since I'm the moderator, I get to have a point of personal privilege. So my wife is somebody who hated politics. She told me I can never run for office. I'm now on the school board because of the chaos that has been happening. Well, now she's gotten involved. I'd just like to get a big hand. She's the one who organized this very thing, so please. And now she's going to be reading for somebody else because we all know that we have a lot of people who can't be in this room, and so she's going to be their voice.
What's her name? Jen. Hi, I'm Jen. I have the honor and privilege for reading a story from one of our younger members of our community, because as much as this is hurting us, it's hurting them very much too. And a lot of times they feel so powerless, and this was just a way for her to get a little bit of her power back. As a daughter of a federal worker, I have to say that I get very worried about my father. I remember one day my dad picked me up, and I could tell he was sad by his face. I'm only 11 years old, but seeing my dad all sad after work was devastating, especially since he loves his job. He asked me how my day was, and I asked him how his day was. His only response was okay. I immediately knew he was upset, not only by his response, but by his tone and face. I asked why it was okay, and he told me why. He told me that he had to fire one of his workers, which is very sad. He told me about what Trump is doing to workers like my dad, and I started to get worried. He told me not to worry, so I tried to. But just a few weeks later, my mother told me that my dad may get fired, and I was so upset. My response to this was that I wanted to help. I wanted to help stand up for people like my dad. I hope this helps people understand how this can affect kids like me with a parent that's a federal worker.
I got so excited I forgot to queue up the next person. So Garrett, are you ready? Yeah, I am. Sorry about that. And after that is Carolyn Sullivan.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Garrett. Hi everyone. My name is Garrett Rachinski. I work at City of Refuge. I'm the director of engagement. Kathy Jensen invited me here tonight. Thank you. What I like to start with everybody real quick is talking about what's in a surname. My mother, when she was 4, immigrated to the United States from Chile. I grew up with a Spanish-speaking grandmother and didn't realize that that was different. And what I like to do is talk with friends, family, people who may disagree with the term refugee, and bring that up. How many people have ever talked with friends from St. Louis who have a German background and they love sauerkraut and mom used to make, anybody here, right? We have that background in our history. And to our representatives and senators, with all respect in that, I say, looking back at the history, right? Representative Onder, if you look there, there's a Dutch background, right? Many of our friends out of St. Louis, there's that German background, there's French, there's a lot of these backgrounds. And so if we can start with saying, who welcomed us? Who welcomed your family? Because there's always been people who hate people from other countries. That's gone on forever. So who welcomed you is how I like to start. And so City of Refuge is a nonpartisan, non-religious nonprofit. It's been around for 15 years, and we have grown. And to our representatives, what I like to say real quick is a little bit of history, right? We're a nation of immigrants. We talk about this, and you've heard this ad nauseum. But what I also like to say is the effects on the local economy. If we want to just break down financially, it's actually $1 billion in spending power that refugees bring to the Missouri economy. If you look at the entire country, it's $218 billion in financial benefit, all right, for our refugee backgrounds. Also, our refugee friends are bringing families, lots and lots of kids, lots of culture, food, faith, activity, and that fabric that makes America great. Right? We can all agree on that. And as a nonpartisan organization, we have people from all over the aisle. So what does City of Refuge do real fast? We work for 3 pillars. We serve and empower refugees with care, education, and development. We help over 1,600 refugees a year now. All right? We're across from the downtown library. Yeah, that's you guys, right? That is local, that is Columbia showing up. And in fact, we just crested over, get this, 300 weekly volunteers now at City of Refuge. All right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right? That's up from 80 at the beginning of the year. So Columbia, you are getting involved. And I say to our representatives, those are people from all over the political aisle. Okay, we have people who are coming together to say, hey, this is what makes us great. This is what makes our nation amazing. So with CARE, we have a driving simulator helping over 14 people recently got their driver's license instead of paying an average of $500 a month on Uber to get to work. All right? So that's CARE. How about education? We have a little preschool with kids learning English side by side with local refugees and non-refugees. And then adults in these rooms typing and learning English feverishly so that they can go to college, they can start new jobs, they can start new companies here in our state. Right? So that's education. And then development. We have over 9 local artisans who've recently started as young as a 15-year-old girl from Afghanistan. She is sending money to her family here and back home. These are really, really big. Now, here's the problem, real quick. We were notified in March that the Office of Refugee Resettlement is reimagining a policy, essentially in saying that we are not going to allocate what will eventually be for us 40% of our funding, okay? Now, Columbia has come out in force. As a result of this, we are expecting a shortfall of $500,000 annually. We have 29 staff members. Remember, 300 volunteers a week, 15 interns. We have a very big operation that is growing every year. And so to make up for that, we have 18% of our goal raised of 1,000 people doing $50 a month. We are working with people. I want to thank each and every one of you for donating financially, but I want to tell others to donate financially to keep growing this fabric regardless of whatever administration is there. I also say to our friends, our representatives and senators, come on out and visit. I have my cards here. You can find me online. I gave 100 tours last year. I'll give even more this year. I'll come present at those places. Come out to our events, our big markets, our things. Come and see. Invite your friends. And lastly, here's why. Whether you're religious or not, love your neighbor is a really beautiful sentiment, right? It could be, yeah, right? Okay. Mr. Rogers, Jesus, Mohammed, Mr. Rogers, all of these friends invited us to love your neighbor. And that includes, friends, our friends who don't know refugees yet. Invite them out to City of Refuge. Come and see. We'd love to give you a tour. Thank you for helping us love your neighbor.
Good evening. I'm Linnell Phillips. This is Lawrence Simonson. And I've been a nurse for 35 years. And throughout my whole career, one thing I've really believed in and know that this saves lives is vaccines. And I've given a lot of vaccines, and I believe in vaccines. I think it's vaccines that is a big reason why we can all gather here today, because no one in this room has diphtheria. No one in this room has polio. No one in this room has smallpox, and that's a victory. And Lawrence and I represent the Missouri Immunization Coalition. I'm board president of the Missouri Immunization Coalition. I make $0 for being president of the Missouri Immunization Coalition. I do it because I believe in what we're doing. I believe we save lives. And we have a measles outbreak going on. We have over 1,000 cases of a totally 100% preventable disease going on. And during this outbreak, our president appointed RFK Jr. as in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services. RFK Jr., not a big fan of vaccines. He's given it lip service, kind of a little bit said it's okay if you choose, you can, go ahead and get a measles vaccine for your child. Behind the scenes, RFK Jr. is dismantling all programs that have anything to do with raising vaccination rates, including our organization. RFK Jr. wants to make America healthy again. I think he's going to make America diseased again. I think he's going to make America infectious again. And he's going to take us back 100 years. On March 24th, we got a letter from the State Health Department and said, our funding for the Missouri Immunization Coalition is gone. Let me introduce Lawrence Simonson. He's our executive director. Lawrence, what was that like?
Well, I heard someone over here talk about the fears their children have for their family or their father losing their job. I've felt that personally. Because of this cut, personally, myself and the rest of my team are losing their jobs. As of June 30th, we will all be unemployed. So that's how it's affecting me personally. However, it's much more scary when you think about it from the perspective of how this is going to kill people in Missouri. Right now, Missouri has one of the lowest vaccination rates of anywhere in the country. Vaccination rates for Missouri counties only recently just came out in December. So before that point, we had no idea what the vaccination rates were for our state and for our counties. There are counties in our state I will not go to and shake another person's hand for fear of the illness I could get there. The majority of the counties in Missouri are below what's known as herd immunity. That means if there is a measles outbreak in Missouri, it is going to have devastating effects. So while I have lost my job, my staff has lost their jobs, there is currently going to be no immunization coalition out there fighting to protect Missourians' lives and health by promoting vaccinations. Keep in mind, right now, it is easier to get an exemption for a vaccine than it is to go and get a vaccine. If I wanted to, in the next 5 minutes on my phone, just simply by Googling, I could get vaccination exemptions for all my children. If I want to go to that same website and find out what the vaccination rates are for the counties in Missouri, I couldn't find it. You have to know the URL. This is what is happening. They are hiding the information that we need to protect ourselves, and they are blocking us from getting the protective health care that we need. They are taking people's jobs away, they are putting families at risk, and they are putting all of us at risk by not helping us receive vaccines. Want to finish up?
Thank you all for listening, and please support immunizations in Missouri. Thank you.
Okay, well, Harry, come on up. You're next. And after Harry will be, I have Lawrence S.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, got it. Okay. After Harry will be Kenneth F. talking about veterans.
Thanks. Where's Jen? Jen, you in here? Nobody's going to show up. This is amazing. Nobody's going to show up. In 1992, Zach De La Rocha and Tom Morello wrote, "Know your enemies? Yes, I know my enemies. They're the teachers who taught me to fight me. Compromise, conformity, assimilation, submission, ignorance, hypocrisy, brutality, the elite, all of which are American dreams. All of which are American dreams. Mr. Chair, may I call you empty?" And this is awkward. Why don't they just show up? You know, that would make this a lot easier. So who am I? I'm glad you asked. I'm a 59-year-old married for 25 years to my beautiful wife, my beautiful and caring wife, Dina. I'm a cis, straight, white, passing immigrant from a shithole country in Africa. I'm a father of 3, one of which happens to be trans. I'm also a veteran. So it seems like I hit the trifecta of distaste for the people up on this dais. Is it okay to have differences? Yes. Yes, it is. That's America. As long as we're not harming others, it's okay for us to have differences. But there are some differences that I don't understand, so I thought maybe you could help me. I'm not religious, but there's a story about a brown man, a brown-skinned Middle Eastern man that was oppressed and controlled by white people. Yeah? What he taught was love your neighbor, protect the weak and the marginalized. I assume you believe in those and you ascribe to those teachings and your values are part of that. He seems to have taught empathy. That's what I got from him. So my questions for you are, how can you look in the face of my child or any other transgender person and not see the hurt and the damage that is being done to them by your policies? Josh Hawley sucks. How can you not feel the negative impact removing DEI from the soul of our nation has towards disenfranchising the marginalized Americans? How can you not understand that people should have enough bodily autonomy to make decisions about their Medicare without your interference? When is enough truly enough for the 13 billionaires that run this country so that you can stop taking from those that have little to nothing to give those that have more than they could ever want? How do you espouse to love your country, the country you live in, all the while you vote with a party that tried to diminish the benefits for those that served and died for this country? Compromise, conformity, assimilation, submission, ignorance, hypocrisy, brutality, the elite. Are these just a part of your American dreams, Mr. Chair?
So Diana S. is up after Kenneth F.
My name is Kenny Freeman. I am a 100% service-connected disabled veteran of the United States Air Force. First and foremost, say, this is my country, and I am proud to be an American. Come on. Like my buddy and friend J.P. Patterson, I am a preacher. So if you will turn in your Bibles to the book of Insanity, chapter 86, 47. The passage reads, we got took and we gonna take our country back. I was asked to come and talk about veterans. That's what I'm going to do. And the first thing I'm going to tell you that as a person who worked for the VA in a roundabout way through the state of Oklahoma, what's happening at VA is no secret, and it did not just start. It started back in 1984 when Ronald Reagan got the bright idea from Margaret Thatcher to privatize government service. As a member of veteran service organizations for the better part of 15 years as a program specialist, we fought that effort, but unfortunately, as of 2025, over 39% of the veterans VA hospital has now been privatized. Now, the smoke screen that is currently going on is DEI. Everybody's talking about DEI. And I will talk about that as well. Diversity, equality, and inclusion. First and foremost, as a veteran, that's the first thing you learn in basic training.
All right.
Here's the sad part. The sad part is,
Come on.
and what's so sad is the fact that it should be funny. Over 50% of women voted for Donald Trump. Over 61% of veterans voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump takes office. First thing he does is attack DEI. And here comes Elon Musk. He's laying off over here, laying off over there. A man that has only been in this country since 2002, and he's an immigrant.
Come on. Come on.
This is the sad part. DEI. All these mass layoffs. I know who he was aiming at. However, who has really suffered the most from DEI? White women and veterans.
Come on. That's right.
You can't even shoot straight. Here's the sadder part. We've got to take this country back, because if these policies continue, it is the entire middle class that's going to be eliminated. What's wrong with privatizing the Veterans Hospital is this. People will get hired in the private sector, making less money with less employee protections and less benefits. We are all in this together, folks.
Yes.
We are all at the back of the bus.
That's right. That's right.
All of us.
That's right.
And if we don't have it, we are going to be kept there. That is why I would like to close my comments with simply this: for these distinguished individuals, they look good, who have seemed to lost their way.
Yes.
I'm going to close simply by sharing a song from 1938 that I want to sing, or I'm just going to say the words of that song. It was made popular by Frank Sinatra and by Billie Holiday, because it's almost time for their reelection. And to paraphrase that song, we'll be seeing you again in all those familiar places. You may not want to see our faces, but we will be seeing you again. Thank
All right. Is Diana's here? Yep. Okay. And after that, is Jenna Radel here? You good?
Hi, everyone. This is probably the last place I imagined myself to be this evening. To be perfectly honest, I've only arrived back in the country a few days ago. I've spent the last year as a Peace Corps volunteer in Jamaica, working with an agricultural sector in the hills, the very rural portions of Jamaica. And I highly recommend the Peace Corps. Anybody looking for an encore career, it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. But why I'm here is I had shared a little story with Alice about something that happened while I was in Jamaica. My job in Jamaica was to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, and I was involved in training farmers in very rural areas on how to use business and financial techniques in order to operate their farms. With the Peace Corps, you often have to create your own projects. And so I had created my project, I developed all the training materials, I had lined up all the farmers to be trained, and had set up an entire program that was supposed to begin the 1st of February. To finance this project, the Peace Corps has a grant program where you as a Peace Corps volunteer write a grant and you apply for funding. Actually, what you do is you crowdfund for most of your funds, you get a lot of community support, and then the U.S. government tosses in $2,500 at the end to help you go over the top of what you need. So I had applied for the grant. it was accepted. I had all my crowdfunding, all my other financing in place, ready to start the 1st of October, or the 1st of February, and then along came Donald Trump and froze grants throughout the world. And so with that, all Peace Corps grants were frozen as well, which meant that the funding that I had in place from private donors, from crowdfunding, from agricultural agencies and other places could not be used until the freeze was taken off of this grant. We struggled to kind of put everything in place. We had farmers ready to be trained. So essentially, I coughed up a lot of money. My agency provided money. Some friends came through, and we went ahead and trained the farmers. And finally, on April 9th, the freeze was lifted, and that $2,500 from the Peace Corps and the liberation of all the other funds finally came through. A little bit too late for my program and for many other Peace Corps volunteers who work very hard to create programs to help people in other countries. But it just kind of shows how a lot of Donald Trump's policies are far-reaching, and they have no idea how the impact they're having on people throughout the world. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn Sullivan. Thank you so much. Usually I have to do more to earn it than that. I'm Carolyn Sullivan, and I'm the president and CEO of New Chapter Coaching. We're a full-service nonprofit consultancy, and I was asked to come here tonight to talk about the state of the nonprofit sector. Hopefully, Lawrence or some others talked with you about this topic, but before I start with my remarks, I want you to stand up as you're able if you are an employee of, on the board of directors of, receiving services from, have some direct connection to a nonprofit here in Boone County. Stand up. Yep. So many of us are working with or relying upon nonprofits in our community, and the impact is incalculable, but we're working on figuring out that economic and human impact. So I'm here to urge my congressman, Congressman Alfred, who's a little stiff tonight, and the other members of Congress to stop the dangerous trend of cutting funding to nonprofit programs. Especially when there is no evidence of waste, fraud, or abuse. These cuts may look like numbers on a budget, or a financial, sheet, but on the ground, they translate to human carnage. They translate to impact on real humans. They look like fewer meals for seniors, fewer beds for unhoused humans, fewer mental health crises for those in need, fewer opportunities for our children to experience the arts and adults in here, or thrive in after-school programs, and so on, and so on, and so on. There's no one in this room who hasn't been directly impacted and helped by a nonprofit in our community, right? Our churches are nonprofits. Nonprofits are not wasteful. As a nonprofit consultant working in this community for the past 17 years, I've seen firsthand how nonprofit organizations are often the most efficient and effective stewards of public dollars. Yes. They are asked, and they constantly are doing more with less. And when funding is slashed without justification, without explanation, it's the most vulnerable among us who often pay the highest price. Not because programs are failing, but because politics is standing in the way of compassion, common sense, and long-term thinking. We must look beyond the individual programs being cut and understand the interconnected systems these nonprofits operate within. For example, if Medicaid is gutted, which it's headed to that end result, we're not just talking about reduced access to health care for low-income folks and people with disabilities and pregnant women. We're also talking about more people turning to nonprofits in times of crisis. With untreated chronic conditions and unmanaged mental health issues and higher emergency visits and so on. There's a cascading effect and a cascading impact that we will all see and we will all feel. And who will respond to that rising impact? The same nonprofits already facing historic demand for their services, staff burnout, and funding insecurity. Without Medicaid, organizations like Woodhaven, who serve people with disabilities, True North, who serve domestic violence and sexual assault survivors, and our community health partners will face an unsustainable burden while the root issues go unaddressed. Cuts in one area trigger cascading effects in others. Less access to health care leads to worse outcomes in housing, employment, education, and so on. These nonprofits are operating in a system. Less support for crime victims leads to increased trauma and long-term costs to public safety. And I know many of us in this community are concerned about crime or the perception of rising crime. That's not going to be made better by cuts to nonprofit programs. Cutting arts and culture programs weaknesses community resilience and economic vitality. This is not theory, folks. It is already happening. I was at a meeting this afternoon from 2 to 3:30 listening to nonprofits talk about the very real impact that these cuts from Washington and let's be real, Jeff City are having on our nonprofit and the safety net that many of us and our neighbors rely upon. Millions of dollars in federal funding have already been lost by nonprofits right here in Columbia. Ragtag Film Festival, I better be able to say it, I'm on the board. Ragtag Film Society, I just came from a board meeting. They've lost $30,000 in funding. Central and Northeast Missouri Food Bank, they've lost funding because of the cuts to the USDA. So the food system is being eroded. Missouri Symphony, NEA grant. And Local Motion, a $500,000 grant. Missouri Immunization Coalition, over $1 million grant. And so on. This is just to name a few, folks. I could go on, and I won't. These cuts are not isolated incidents, and this is not an exhaustive list. These cuts are part of a pattern, one that hollows out our public services and weakens our safety net and erodes our nonprofit organizations that hold our communities together. We rely on them, they rely on us. We must answer the calls that they put out because these members of Congress are not answering the calls. If there's credible evidence that a program isn't working, let's address it with transparency and accountability. But we cannot continue to justify Representative Alfred and others. We cannot continue to justify devastating broad cuts based on vague accusations or political ideology. In Columbia, we know these programs work. The funders know these programs work. These nonprofits have to go jump through hoop after hoop after hoop to get this funding. These funders put them through the test to get funding. Congress doesn't have to worry about waste, fraud, and abuse. So I urge you, Congressman Alfred and the rest of the gang, especially the Republican leadership, to stop the cuts. Restore what has been lost. Protect the programs that protect Missourians, because when one part of the system fails, the pressure lands somewhere else, and it always ends up hurting the people who need it the most. We're watching you, and we're counting on you to do the right thing. Otherwise, we will do the right thing come November of 2026.
Mary's next, and after that, Adrian.
My name is Mary Ratliff. I am the President Emeritus of the Columbia chapter of the NAACP. Pamela, who is the new president, was called and asked to be here, but had another engagement and sent me in her stead. I wanted to talk to you tonight about, I've been an active part of this community for a number of years. And thank you. I want to talk to you about who has the power in these United States of America. Tell me who has the power. We the people have the power. We the people have the power. We can change things if we are willing to really work toward it. We can make the difference that we need to make. And I am impressed with this crowd that is here tonight. And one of the things, my chairman of the board was here speaking for our NAACP banquet this weekend. And one of the things I said to him was Leon, why aren't we calling for a big national get-together where we can really go to Washington? He shared something with me that I will share with you. He said that they've studied it very closely, and that's what Mr. Trump wants us to do, so that he can call out the military, okay? So that he can call out the military. So he's saying, have these meetings the way we're having them now in these small towns, and we do this all over. Everything is grassroots. And I'm saying to you that the NAACP decided, I was talking to my daughter, and we decided that I said, we're going to display the flag at the Juneteenth. And she said, oh, but that's the MAGA flag. And I said, no, we're not giving up this flag, and that's what people are saying. When they see, so I'm going to suggest to you, I don't know if you're going to the Juneteenth parade that's going to be held in Columbia, but count on it, the NAACP will be there with our flags flying, okay? Because we remember the Buffalo Soldiers that climbed those hills to help, to help win the war. And so we're not giving up our flag. And so we take your flag and carry it with you and say to them, we're going to say to them, we're not giving up our flag, we're taking back our flag, okay? So, okay. I am a proud veteran. I'm a proud civil service employee, retired. I'm a retired nurse from the Veterans Administration here in Columbia. I helped open the VA hospital when it opened in 1972. And, I headed up the ophthalmology clinic, and a patient wanted to give me a gift, one for my husband and our 22nd anniversary. And it was a carving that he had done saying, "Happy anniversary, Mary and Lonnie," on it. But because I was a federal employee, I could not accept that gift. Why are we even having to talk about the fact that Donald Trump can accept a $44 billion airplane from a foreign country as a gift? And we are just sitting here and allowing that to happen. We're just sitting, our Congress people are allowing it to happen. And, and I'm so glad that you all decided, whoever got the idea this year, of placing these empty seats here. It is really a great idea, and we need to say, we're going to come 26, we're going to send these people home. We're going to send these people home. I don't believe in meetings for just meeting's sake. And when I go to a meeting, I plan to have some action happen out of it. And I'm not coming here just to be talking, for us to be talking. The NAACP is going to be working, and I know that we're going to be working with other people in this city. I'm proud to be also the co-chair of the When She Votes, the women group that we organized a couple of 3 years ago. And we're going to be out here, walking these pavements and doing the work that we need to do. But we need, one of the things that they're hoping to happen is to divide us. You know, when they talked about the DEI, some of the people I'm from the South. I'm from Mississippi, okay? So I know what the deal is. That they knew, and the people that are really following so strongly Donald Trump are those people who says, you know, the South will rise again. Okay? I'm from the South will rise again, okay? Well, we are not going to let that happen because we know exactly what that means. We know exactly what that means. And what they want to do is divide us, and then give the money to the rich and the poor go without. And so what I'm saying to my white friends is that you will be affected because most of us in here are not millionaires. And so that's what they're trying to take care of, are the millionaires. So we've got to come together. We will have no middle class. As someone said, we will have no middle class. We will have the rich, and then we'll have the poor. And so everybody needs to understand that it is important. And I have this here, and I'm going to try to be right on time. I'm trying not to keep you in it. This 2025, I started studying this way back when and handing it out to those who know us, to everybody that I could hand it out to, because, you know, the mandate is here. It's here of what was going to happen. We don't have to ask anybody. It's all laid out, the 2025. I didn't read the whole 922 pages, but I got enough of it that I know what they're going to do, and they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. So if you want to know what they were planning to do, just pick up that 2025 project and read what they say, and you'll see that they're doing exactly what they said that they were going to do. And defying the courts. The Supreme Court has let us down, and we need to say that loud and clear. We need to say that loud and clear. We need to say that loud and clear, that the Supreme Court has let us down. There is no way that this person should have immunity, because if we have one of our young boys or young girls or whatever to go out here and steal a pack of candy, you know, they got to go to court. They can't vote. Here we have someone who have been indicted for 34 offenses, and running for the president, and was able to run for the president of the United States. We need to let our voices be heard when things like this happen, and to be able to sit here and just say, just wait and let's see what happens. No, we cannot afford to wait and see what happens. We've got to be vigilant, and I'm going to be out there, and I know that you are here tonight because you're going to be out there. We're going to make the changes that we need to make in Columbia. We cannot make changes all over the world, but we can make the changes in Columbia. And let me just share with you that before I take my seat, is that, you know, Missouri is a red state, but Columbia is a blue spot, okay?
All right, we are down to our last about 8 minutes. Probably have time for 3 more speakers if they're all quick. So Adrian, and then Jeanette will come after that, and then Bethany, and then we will have our final speaker after that.
It doesn't come off there. I'm Adrian Plank. I am the state legislative representative for the 47th House District. There's one thing I can do that these 4 can't. Listen. Because I'm here. As a state legislator, there's not much I can do about these 4. But there's a lot of things that we can do as a group. And the first sign of that is you all are here, supporting each other. There are several electeds here today. People are in office now. If you all could raise your hands. David Tyson Smith. Kathy Steinhoff. Those are our state legislators that are here, I think, this evening. And that's something they can do too. They're here, they can listen. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. I say a friend of mine, a friend of my wife's and a friend of mine. Her name's Amber. I was hoping she would come here today and speak. She works for the USDA. She has 3 kids. She's single. She lives in Harrisburg. She was hired as a remote worker. She got an email from Doge, and it says that she could quit, get 9 months of severance, or go back to the office. Do y'all know where the office is at? Washington, D.C. She can't just pick up her kids and go to Washington, D.C. So the next option was, well, how about Kansas? You have to drive back and forth to Kansas. She can't do that either. Then they said if she was going to quit and take the severance, 9-month severance, that since they had offered her job back because they needed her back, that she wouldn't be eligible for that severance anymore. Since they offered her job back, she could never get that. She couldn't just quit now. With that being said, there wasn't a whole lot of jobs that paid the same money, had the same benefits. And so the one thing I know as a union carpenter is that job security is everything. And when you don't have that security and everything's in the air, then your employment is fear-based. And if you fear losing your job, even if you do your job correctly, that's not a very welcoming environment. It's not worth having. And so she's in a predicament where she has to decide, can I help her? There's only so much I can do. I mean, I can look for jobs for her, or she can also do that too, right? But that puts a big strain. Do you know what she does for the USDA? She's a veterinarian, and she was tracking bird flu. Of course. Make people sick. Make everything volatile, and that's hard to do. You know, she was here in Missouri for that reason. The Trump regime, if they can downplay it and do away with it and not inform people, then it doesn't exist. So when we're talking about measles, we're talking about all those health conditions that they were blowing off as nothing and defunding everything. That puts us in direct harm, is the best way I can put that. And when you have a dictator in chief who every policy that he pushes is based on bullying, that's not a way to negotiate. And that gives us more reason to fight back, right? Yes. When I was in school, I was a bit of a smartass. So I got bullied quite a bit. And that's one thing I don't do anymore, is I don't put up with bullying. And that's the biggest reason I hate Trump. The things that they are doing to Americans, the party of Christian values, how ridiculous is that? Gaslighting all the way. I grew up in a conservative Christian home. I haven't talked to my dad since, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. It's ruining our families. It's ruining our ways of lives. It's making poor people poorer. It's making rich people richer. And there's going to be a time, and we're going to vote these people out. We got to put in the work, but we're going to vote these people out.
Hi, everybody, I'm Jeanette Cass. I ran against Mark Alfred in 24, and I'm going to run again in 26. I brought notes just to make sure I could cover everything that I wanted to talk about tonight, but most of y'all covered it. And then I get up here and I get 1 minute to speak. So I am so thankful to be here. I am working harder. I'm making calls all across the state of Missouri, talking to people every day. I'm hearing all these complaints that we're talking about today and others. And I just want to say one thing. When you're not a multimillionaire, maybe you fight harder for Missourians. I'm saying, and I want to say one other thing before I get kicked off. Well, two things. First of all, somebody get a picture of me giving Mark a hug. Just want to say thank you, Mark, for showing up. I haven't seen you since 2023. As a retired mail carrier, I can tell you firsthand what it's like delivering mail in the streets where the people who count on their Social Security check and their Medicaid and their Medicare and their Obamacare. I have dealt with them. I have walked through their front yard. I have talked to them. I have seen their face. I know the effects it's going to have on these people. And what they are doing right now is devastating to them. And it's not just going to affect them. Is my minute up? I'm going to talk faster. It's not just going to affect them, but that's one thing that does roll downhill. When you take Medicaid away, it hurts your community. It hurts your health care. And I'm running out of time. God bless you all. I'm so thankful to be here, and it's great to see everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bethany Mann. Well, that was really loud. I'm on the executive board of the Missouri LGBTQ caucus for the Missouri Democrats, and they say that 90% of the job is showing up. So I'm here to announce I'm running for Congress, and I'm the right man for the job. So Missouri voters let the government know that they should stay out of private medical decisions and allow full access to reproductive health care. Instead, Republican lawmakers passed a bill to put abortion on the ballot using deceptive language. The new law is going to make abortion illegal again, punish doctors, and force people to report sexual assaults within a certain time frame or divulge their private medical records or risk jail time. Now, as Missouri State Senator Bob Onder wrote parts of this original abortion ban, which Missouri voters overwhelmingly opposed and overturned. He plans on enacting these cruel and unjust laws nationally, forcing his will on families across the country. As an extra insult this week, Onder did announce a virtual town hall via email with only 40 minutes notice. It was only 40 minutes long. And this is after his constituents, you guys here, who have been asking for a face-to-face town hall in his district. He'll only do virtual, only pre-screened with calls that are screened by his staff. And Onder believes that he has the power to take away your rights and overturn elections, yet he continues to be too cowardly to face his own constituents. By silencing the voice of the people, Missouri Republicans show weakness and fearful impotence, not strength. Restricting access to health care and denying bodily autonomy violates universal human rights as outlined in the Geneva Convention. Overturning the will of the voters violates the sacred trust that leaders in a democratic republic require for functional governance. Americans deserve the freedom to make their own health care and economic choices and have their voices heard at the ballot box. So overwhelmingly, I want you to know, I say thank you for sharing your experiences, because national policies have local implications, and we're feeling the pain here at home. It's going to take all of us working together to oust these leaders who won't show up. They won't lead. They only bail out and work for the 13 billionaires versus us. And sometimes that kind of, feels hard. Sometimes it feels like those 13 billionaires are, pulling one over on us. But with people power, with all of us coming together, we will make our voices heard, and we will make a change. And in 2026, we will see a blue wave starting right here in Columbia. Thank you so much.
All right, my name is David Tyson Smith. Thank you for coming out. You guys have been here 2 hours. You are the true troopers. I appreciate you. I know you're probably tired and hungry. I just want to say something really quickly. I'll be brief because we have places to be. You know, so I don't know if you know the story of Mark Alfred. So we share overlapping districts. And a woman came to my office a few months ago, and she was scared. She was afraid she was going to lose her job. She worked for the VA. And we talked, but I can tell you, I've never seen such horror in someone's face. She was terrified. And so I said, well, let's do this. I said, let's make an appointment with Congressman Alfred's office, right? I'm a state legislator. Firings at the VA, that's more of a federal issue. But I listened to her for a long time. We talked, and we set up an appointment with his office. So presumably she went over there. Not long after that, Mark Alfred sent 3 staffers to my office to intimidate my legislative assistant. And basically, the message was, and not only that, other people started calling our office. And so we would forward the calls to Congressman Alfred, right? He's at the federal level. He can deal with some of these job cuts. Well, guess what? He sent 3 staffers to intimidate my legislative assistant. She's a sweet woman. And the message was, stop giving out our phone number. They didn't want us giving out his phone number. And then he also said, they said, he doesn't want to talk about the VA. Can you believe that? The staffers told my legislative assistant, he doesn't want to talk about the VA. And then he went on to say how he was run out, or actually he was cornered in a coffee shop. And I didn't even know that at the time, but I found out that it was true, that he ran out of the back door of a coffee shop. So you know what? These guys are cowards. And my message to Alfred was, that's right, they're cowards, my friends. They're cowards. My message to Alfred was, if you had an issue, call me on the phone. Come talk to me man to man, okay? Don't send people to do your dirty work. Where is this guy, right? I was asked to speak briefly in Kansas City. I went out there and talked for about 2 minutes. They said, how many people, this is your first time at a rally? About 40% of the hands went up. Folks, this is not a woke, crazy mob they're trying to insinuate. You guys are real people, and they're insulting you. You've got Trump over here, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is showing up. He's giddy with his chainsaw. You don't laugh about firing people. This is not a game, right? This is our lives. This is our livelihoods. This isn't a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. This is a human issue. This is a human issue, my friends. And now what is Trump doing? Intimidating judges. We are in dangerous times, my friends. These are dangerous times. You heard what he said about Alcatraz. We're gonna get Alcatraz going again, and he said we're gonna put judges there who basically get out of line. When you start intimidating the courts, that is a breakdown of the separation of powers. This is a dangerous man, it's a dangerous administration. Because one thing about Trump, he knows this. Once he's out of office, he's probably gonna go to prison. Seriously, no, he's got the charges, they're gonna roll back, and he's gonna go to prison. This man is gonna go to prison. And he's afraid. We have got, and he doesn't want to leave. You know that, right? It's not a game. He's signaled that already. He's putting out merchandise to stay a few more years after this term. This is not a joke. These people are coming for democracy, and they're after all of us. They are after all of us. And now is the time to fight. We have not seen America in a predicament like this since the 40s. This is fascism, my friends. This is, you know it and I know it. Every time you turn on the television, it's another horrible statement. Something else they want to do. They're lying about Medicaid. Remember, we're not going to cut Medicaid. First of all, 2 hours ago, they said it's going to be $718 billion cut to Medicaid. 10 million people are going to be cut from the rolls. That's just Medicaid. We have got to keep doing what you're doing. You say, well, what can I do? You're doing it. Show up. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how young you are. Show up. Keep showing up. As we heard earlier, we've got the power, my friends. This is our country. This is our country. This is our country. You have worked too hard for America. You've worked too hard. You've paid your taxes. You've gone to work. You fought for America. This is not the first time you fought on an issue. And now they're going to try to take it from you? Don't let them. This is the time we have to fight, and we have to be aggressive. Show up everywhere. I want you to show up. They should not be comfortable. I don't want any of these people to be comfortable. And actually, I think we're winning because they're not here. They are afraid of you. They are afraid of you. And we sent out certified letters a couple months ago. They knew what was going on. They are afraid. They're afraid to look at you in the eye. They need to do their damn jobs, okay? They need to do their jobs. So I love you guys. I appreciate you for coming out. You've been out here for several hours, but we have to fight them everywhere. We cannot surrender. It's like we're being bombed, okay? Every day it's like a bombing. It's like London getting bombed. So what do we do? What did Churchill do? He didn't surrender. On the beaches, he doesn't surrender. We're not going to surrender in coffee shops, town hall meetings. I want you guys at the Capitol, the governor's mansion. I want you at the White House, and we're going to take them all back because we have the power. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Let's do this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.